Now it's time to look at the ITTOs. As usual, let's start with the inputs. First, the project management plan. There are two components in it. Let's look at them. First, schedule management plan. To estimate an activity duration, you need the method to be used, level of accuracy required, and other criteria required to sequence the activities. So, naturally, it's an input. The second one is scope baseline. Naturally, the technical details in the WBS dictionary can influence the effort and duration of estimates. The next in the list is project documents. Let's look at the project documents that are used as input in estimate activity duration one by one. Activity attributes. To estimate an activity, you need the activity attributes such as the activity description, assumptions, and constraints. Attributes such as predecessor, successor, and the relationship will have impact in the activity duration. Activities lead and lag and the logical relationship must be factored while estimating activity duration. The next one is activity list. The activity list contains all scheduled activities required on the project that are to be estimated. Of course, dependencies and other constraints can influence the duration of estimates. The next one is assumption log. Similar to sequencing activities, the recorded assumptions and constraints may have impact in estimating the activities. Let's say, for example, for module 5, we will not get the best resource, but resource with average skill. So we may not be able to use expert judgment to estimate those activities. For some activities, we need to go by worst case scenario. The next one is lessons learned register. Lessons learned from previous project with regard to effort and duration can be applied in the project to improve the accuracy and precision of effort and duration estimates. Milestone list. The milestone list may have scheduled dates for specific milestone that may impact the duration estimates. The next one is project team assignments. Let's look at the overview of project team assignments. Project team assignments describes the end result. This is to the team member. Also, it describes as a project manager how should you measure the performance. In case if you fail to do that, the team members will not get a clear message on what is expected out of them. So they don't work as efficiently as they could. And often they don't deliver the result that you want. Don't forget, this is the fault of project manager, not the project team member. So project team assignment records the team members and their roles and responsibilities for the project and what is expected out of them, along with how their performance will be measured. Team assignments can also include a project team directory with team members' name in the project management plan. One such example is project organization chart and project schedule. Now, project team assignments in the current context. You need the information about the number of people and experience level of resource committed to the project to estimate activity duration. The next one is resource breakdown structure. Let's look at the overview first. Resource breakdown structure, shortly RBS. Don't get confused with risk breakdown structure, which we will be discussing in risk management knowledge area shortly, because it has the same abbreviation as RBS. By the way, there is nothing as a risk breakdown structure, so you should not get confused. The resource breakdown structure is a hierarchical representation of resources by category and type. Let's look at an example. Let's take a super simplified example. You are developing a website for client X. You need both human resource and physical resources. You can categorize the human resources as architect and developer. We have Jason and Roger as architect, John and Smith as developers. In terms of equipments or physical resources, you need computer and a server. I hope you're getting the idea. In resource breakdown structure, the resources can be categorized including but not limited to labor, material, equipment, and supplies. Under the resource types, you may want to include skill levels, grade level, required certification, and other information as appropriate to the project. Now in context, the resource breakdown structure provides a hierarchical structure of identified resources by resource category and resource type. This information will be helpful to estimate the activity duration of the project. The next one is resource calendars. Let's look at the overview first. To run a project, you need resource, both physical and human. The resource calendar documents when the resources will be available in the project, how long will they be available, and when they will be released from the project. The resource calendar even have information such as resource experience, skill level, and geographical locations. This information may be at the activity or at the project level. Resource calendars also have information about workdays, shifts, start and end date of normal business hours, weekends, and public holidays. To create a reliable schedule, you need a good understanding of each resources available, schedule constraints including the time zones, work hours, vacation time, local holidays, maintenance schedule, and commitments to other projects. Because remember, you may get people from other departments or from other teams to work on your project. Resource calendars are progressively elaborated and updated throughout the project. Alright, now in context. Resource calendar contains information about resources availability, skills and experience. This is something we discussed in the overview. These information will help to estimate activity duration, so naturally they become input. Non-availability of resources with specialized skills, right relevant experience, right skill set can have impact on activity duration estimates, naturally. So, the project team may tend to add padding. Padding is nothing but adding more duration than the normal duration because of the risk of non-availability of right resource to do the activity. In fact, few project managers rely on this padding. But you know what? Padding is considered as an unethical behavior. As a professional project manager, you are expected to tell the truth all the time in your project. It is your responsibility to provide the realistic schedule and budget. In case if an estimation has many unknown factors, then those should be addressed through reserves such as contingency reserve and management reserve, not by adding padding. The next one is resource requirements. Let's start with the overview. Resource requirements is all about identifying the type and quantities of resources required to complete the project activities. This includes human resources, material, equipment, supplies, and other resources. This is typically done at work package level. Upon identifying the resource requirements for each work package, all the work packages are aggregated together to determine estimated resource for the project as a whole. Resource requirements in context. The estimated activity resource requirements will have an effect on the duration of the activity because the level to which the resources assigned to the activity meets the requirement will significantly influence the duration of most of the activities. Looks confusing, right? Let's look at an example. Let's say low skilled resources are assigned to an activity. What will happen? There will be reduced efficiency and productivity, right? Why? Because of training, increased communication, and coordination. So, required skill plays a vital role in estimating activity duration. Now, the next one is risk register. Risk register will contain the information about the list of activities that have high uncertainty or ambiguous. Let me ask you a question and you know the answer already. Who does the estimation? Those who will do the work or those who are most familiar with the activities will do the estimation. Here, what is the role of a project manager? Interesting question, right? Let's look at it. He or she has to complete a sanity check of the estimates, provide the team with enough information to properly estimate each activity, provides information about how refined the estimation must be, prevent padding, this is very, very important, formulate reserve. All high risks activities must have contingency reserve. Record the assumptions made for later review. All right, now let's look at the next input, enterprise environmental factors. Published commercial information, duration estimating database and other reference data, geographical location of team members, and productivity metrics. The next one is organizational process asserts, estimating policies, historical information on duration, lessons learned repository with information from similar projects, project calendars, scheduling methodology containing the policies, governing schedule model, development, and maintenance. All right, now let's look at the tools and techniques. The first in the list is expert judgment. For this process, experts in estimating, schedule development, management, and control. Experience from similar projects can be useful. The next one is analogous estimating. Let's look at the overview. Let's say you have to travel from your office to home. How much time will it take? You give a number based on your past experience. Let's say 30 minutes. And that's what exactly the analogous estimation is. Analogous estimation technique uses the historical data from a similar activity or project. The parameters could be duration, budget, size, weight, complexity, or anything that supports estimation with the same parameter or measurement. For estimating, the actual duration from the previous or similar activity is used as a basis for current activity. Of course, the values are adjusted depending on the complexity. This technique can be used when a limited amount of information is available. The advantage of this tool is it's less time consuming, so less costly. On the other hand, the disadvantage is it's less accurate. Let's look at the applicability part. You can use this technique at activity level or for a segment of project or for the complete project or in combination of any. You can use this technique along with other estimation techniques such as expert judgment. In fact, this technique becomes more reliable when the previous activities are quite similar by the fact, not just by the appearance. The numbers will be more reliable if the person who applies this technique is an expert. This technique is applicable to duration, cost, and resource estimation. Now, analogous estimation in current context. When the activities are similar to the previous project, then analogous estimate can give better results. Similarity shouldn't be by appearance, but by the fact. When it's done by the expert, the estimation becomes more reliable. Now, let's look at parametric estimating. Let me ask you a question. If two people can paint a room in a day, how many people would you need to paint 3 rooms? Simple question, right? If two can paint 1 room, to paint 3 rooms, you need 3 multiplies 2, which is 6 people. Parametric estimate does exactly the same thing. It uses historical data and other project parameters. It uses statistical relationship between historical data and other variable, like in our example, the number of room to be painted and the number of people needed. This technique can be used to calculate cost, budget, and duration. This technique can produce high level of accuracy depending on the available data, such as historical record, industry standard, standard metrics, and other details about the task to be estimated. This can be applied to an activity, segment of a project, total project, and also in conjunction with other estimation methods. The next one is 3-point estimating. 3-point estimates helps to define an appropriate range of an activity duration. Let's look at an example. You want to travel from point A to point B. You go to your friend who is familiar to the route and ask him how long will it take to reach from point A to point B. Let's say he mentions that it takes only 3 hours. You check with another person, he says that it will take about 2 hours. When you check with one more person, he says it will take 5 hours. So, the optimistic estimation is 2 hours, the pessimistic estimation is 5 hours, and most likely estimation is 3 hours. Let's do 3-point estimation. The formula to do 3-point estimation is optimistic plus pessimistic plus most likely divided by 3. So, 2 plus 5 plus 3 equals 10. 10 divided by 3 equals 3.3. It's so simple, right? All right, the next one is bottom-up estimating. Let's start with an overview. First, example. How do we calculate the personal expenditure in a month? Every day, as you spend, you make a note of it in a pocket notebook or in the mobile or in an Excel sheet. At the end of the day, you add the expenses of each item and consolidate as total expenses of the day. You roll up everyday expense for the month, you get the expenses of the month. What you did here? You went until the bottom level, that is expenses of each item, and consolidate them. That's what bottom-up estimation is. This method aggregates the estimation of lowest level of activity in the WBS. Then estimates are rolled up as total, just like the consolidation of everyday expenses. Then all the higher level are rolled up to the next level, finally to the project level. Let's look at the advantage. It's one of the most accurate estimation because every activity of the project is taken into consideration. Of course, the estimation of activity should be more accurate. The disadvantage, it's time consuming because you take every activity estimation into consideration. Applicability. This estimation method can be used for schedule, cost, and resource estimation. Now, bottom up estimation in current context. Duration is estimated at the activity level and then aggregated to develop estimate for the work package, control account, and summary project level. The next is data analysis. In it, the first one is alternative analysis. While estimating activity duration, various level of resources, capability, and skills are analyzed. Various techniques such as schedule compression, manual versus automated method, make or rent or buy decision regarding the resources are also analyzed. At times, the estimated activity duration may not be suitable. For example, based on the estimate, an activity will take 2 weeks to get completed, but the project demands that the activity has to be completed within a week because of other dependencies. Then the team has to assess the alternate ways to accomplish the same work considering other project constraints such as schedule, cost, resource, quality, etc. The next is reserve analysis. Reserve analysis is used to determine the amount of contingency and management reserve needed for the activity. Let's talk about it. First, contingency reserves. The activities that have the high uncertainties will have contingency reserve as a part of duration estimation. This is also referred as schedule reserve. Contingency reserves are for the known unknown. Here, known represents the risks that are known and the unknown represents the level of its impact. Let's say, for example, for an activity, we know that there will be some rework, but we don't know the amount of rework. Contingency reserve may be represented in percentage or as work periods. Remember, the schedule baseline includes the contingency reserve. When more precise information available about the activity, the contingency reserve will be modified. They may get reduced or increased or may be completely eliminated. Now, management reserve. During the estimation, even the management reserves also need to be calculated.